Hello everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Swinburne Pop Culture Club podcast. I am your host once again, even though for some reason I probably shouldn't be, Oscar. I am joined by Becky this time.
Hello.
Ben.
Hi.
And I'm joined once again by Dan.
Hello.
I hope everyone has had or is having a good start to the semester. We're recording this on the day before semester begins, so we have no idea. The university could have burnt down by the time this is released. So you'll just have to take your word for it. For this week's podcast, we decided that we would talk about animation we wouldn't let our kids watch. We have no idea why we picked such a topic, but we did.
It's a very broad one this time.
Yes.
Yeah, very broad, which has probably got us all quite nervous. We thought it'd be interesting, because we all grew up watching many kids' cartoons, and often, I'm sure plenty of times we were told growing up that, animation is for kids. Once you get older, you won't be watching nearly as much animated stuff. But
Cartoons.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm watching just as much animated stuff as I did when I was a kid, at least in terms of proportion to overall things that I am watching.
Yeah.
So we thought it'd be interesting to talk about just, some adult cartoons that we've been watching, and what makes a good adult animation and why that's so different to adult live action, I suppose. I realise it's probably going to be very weird referring to these things as adult animation, because obviously they can have two very different meanings.
Yeah.
But we're talking about stuff that airs on Adult Swim, not on certain parts of the internet.
Yeah.
So,
That's a different topic for another podcast.
yes, a very different
Maybe
topic.
not another podcast.
Yeah, maybe not.
So, I suppose when I think of adult animated shows, the first one that always jumps to my mind has to be Rick and Morty.
It's a very good show.
That show alone has kind of brought, animation that is very much not for kids into the mainstream, I'd suppose.
Yeah.
But it also isn't overly serious like a lot of adult shows tend to be. It's certainly not a soap opera. It's still, it's arguably still a slapstick cartoon. There's plenty of physical comedy of the like in that. I don't know,
Still very much a comedy show.
It's definitely a show I feel like wouldn't work if it wasn't an animated show, because of how many effects they use and all of the wild shenanigans they get up to. It just, I feel like
and all the
if
wild
you tried
creatures would either be weird CG or very campy costumes.
Yeah. What about you, Dan? Have you actually watched Rick and Morty?
I have watched Rick and Morty.
How high is your
I
IQ,
agree with
Dan?
Ben. You couldn't. Oh, it's very high. You need to have a high IQ to understand Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah. If you don't understand Rick and Morty, it means you're stupid. Without exception,
Rude.
No doubt about it.
To have it as a live action would be so expensive. It would take them so long to produce the episodes.
And I've
I'm not
heard that
sure.
the production process for it already is quite strenuous.
Oh yeah.
as
Animation's
it
hard.
is.
Yeah.
Can confirm as an animation student, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Rewarding, but a pain in the ass.
Do you know how long it is at the moment to produce one?
I'm
Season.
not sure. It's always hard to answer these questions at this particular point in time because of COVID. It seems like I kind of would have thought that a lot of media releases wouldn't be too harshly affected by it, but it absolutely has been. Because they're just maybe not the animation process, but things like voice acting is something that keeps popping up because there's been having to be delayed because of COVID restrictions.
I can imagine it's a nightmare at the moment trying to get, because there are so many aspects that go into making a show like that. Aside from
for sure. I'm maybe a final year animation student, and I still only feel like I understand a fraction of the whole production process of a show. But what season of Rick and Morty are we now? 5? It's definitely not been a perfect show the whole time either. Like, it's definitely received its fair share of criticisms. But I don't know, like, even at its worst, it's still a fun show to watch. And it's like, it's a show almost, I feel, that evokes, like, the fun of watching a childhood cartoon, but with much more mature elements sprinkled in. Like, you know, it's like being able to watch, it's like going back and watching, like, a Roadrunner cartoon, but, like, the consequences of the violence are actually real.
Yeah. I think that's a good way of putting how Rick and Morty feels.
I really don't know what's going to happen in them. In one of their most recent episodes, it was in season 5.
Spoilers!
I'm not going too into it. It involves something with a horse. I already told Becky about this, but they've really just, like, done whatever they felt was funny or humorous, and it's not funny in the way that, like, you'll laugh out loud at it. You sort of just chuckle to yourself as you keep watching it, but it really felt like an episode you'd put on in the background. I'm not sure if you guys have watched it, actually. Who has watched, like, the most recent season?
I'm up to date with all the episodes that are currently on Australian Netflix. I have no idea whether America is ahead of us or not. So
I haven't caught up. A few seasons back, I think. 2, maybe.
I think at the time of recording this, we've got maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think 6 we're up to.
Yeah.
But it also, I agree with Dan though. Like, this last season in particular, it's been all over the place, and it's like I kind of love it and kind of hate it. Like, it's just like every episode is just whoa, like something completely different. Like, it's a bit like Whiplash, you know. Like,
it certainly adds something new to it though, because if you don't know what to expect at all with the next episode, it's completely different. Whereas with other seasons, although it goes all over the place, there is still a consistent theme, so you know what you're getting yourself into.
There's a sense of continuity.
Yeah, there is. But with these ones, it's like you really have no idea.
I think they're poking fun at themselves a lot, like
definitely.
In the sense that a lot of the fans are asking for backstory and, like, the lore behind Rick's life and a lot of that. I think they're kind of poking fun at and saying that this is a show where we don't really care about the story. We just want random shit to happen. And you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. But at the same time, and it's so much, but, like, I think part of why Rick and Morty has been so successful is because it's so wildly different to any other, like, animation that adults might have been watching before it. Like, compare The Simpsons, like, which has obviously, you know, been on air since dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Thereabouts.
You know, and it's like, you know, like, they're 2 completely different shows. You know, The Simpsons is, like, it strays. It obviously doesn't feature much in the way of physical comedy, and if it does, it's certainly not. Well, it does, but, like, not to quite the same degree as Rick and Morty does, I would have thought. And, like, it's certainly not as, you know, gratuitous as Rick and Morty, obviously.
I feel like if you compare anything to Rick and Morty, it's always going to be on a slightly lower level.
Yeah.
But I think The Simpsons still really uses animation, like, to the best of their abilities, being like a sitcom, because otherwise it would just be a regular old sitcom. But because they have the medium of animation, they are able to, like, you know, throw Bart off a cliff or
The most extreme examples of that is the Treehouse of Horror episodes, but that's kind of taking it to a more surreal place.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's almost as close as The Simpsons come to something like Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
You know, extremely surreal humor and, like, you know, just kind of doing whatever the hell they want because that's what animation lets you do. Like, I mean, compare Friends, which, you know, is another sitcom that was very popular during the 90s, but obviously wasn't animated. You know, I like Friends, but, like, there aren't that many moments from it that really stick out in my head because, you know, there's not a lot visually in particular to distinguish one episode from another. Whereas, like with The Simpsons and Rick and Morty, there's a lot of like very iconic images that are saved to your brain. Like
yeah, that's the thing. Like having a new environment in a live action sitcom is very expensive. You have to build an entire set, light it, put cameras everywhere, figure out how you're going to film in it. But with animation, it's simply drawing a new backdrop.
Yeah. Well, as an animation student, I wouldn't exactly say that adding a whole new set is a simple process.
Obviously not, but I think
it is a simpler process than adding a new set
cheaper
to
than
a live action show.
Live action.
Yes, definitely.
You've got me thinking, comparing The Simpsons and Rick and Morty. The Simpsons can sometimes have like a meaning to their episodes. They'll try to get across like a message, something like that.
A lesson.
Yeah. Does Rick and Morty ever do that? I'm struggling to remember.
They kind of poke fun at it even. I think I think Rick sometimes breaks the fourth wall even and says, and the meaning of this episode was to love your family, or I don't know exactly what he says, but I think they're really satirical in that sense, in that they know that they're making an animated sitcom like The Simpsons, but they stray from the formula.
I think there's literally an episode where Rick says, "There's a lesson here, and I'm not going to try and find it." Like, it's like the show actively calls out, because like you have to remember, like The Simpsons and Rick and Morty are made, like they're both adult cartoons, but they're still made for very different audiences.
Yes.
Like The Simpsons is designed to be mass marketed and
family friendly.
It's mostly designed, well, not entirely family friendly. Like I wouldn't let anyone probably under the age of 10 or 12 watch it, if for no other reason. There is like often some sexual tension scenes.
I couldn't watch a lot of it when I was younger. My parents wouldn't let me until I was maybe I think 13.
I feel like my parents were a lot more liberal with that stuff than most.
The Simpsons is designed to still have a very broad appeal. Like it's almost only restriction is perhaps like age. You shouldn't let anyone who's too young really watch it. But Rick and Morty's appeal is much narrower, because not just because of the more gory violence that it shows, but just like in its brand of humor. It's not going to be a show that lands with everybody. I suppose like other adult animations that are pertinent to discuss would also be like Family Guy, but I almost feel like if you've talked about The Simpsons, you've talked about Family Guy. People are gonna hate me now that I've said that.
Oh no!
But thankfully, this is a podcast, so you can't see my face and you can't identify me when I walk around campus. But it features. It's like Family Guy could almost, at least for the purposes of like, adult animation, it's a slightly more hard-edged version of The Simpsons. And that's fine. Like I'm sure. A lot of like it's almost a halfway in between The Simpsons and Rick and Morty. Like it still features a relatively broad appeal, and features a much more grounded setting than Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah.
But it still goes into a lot more of the fantastical than The Simpsons ever does.
I think also Family Guy is a lot more self-aware. Like it knows that.
Oh, certainly.
Similarly to Rick and Morty, it knows that it's an animated sitcom. Like it knows that it's similar to The Simpsons, and they kind of poke fun at themselves in that way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Didn't they have a crossover episode?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yes.
Surely.
They do. I've seen it. The Simpsons Guy.
The Simpsons had a crossover with Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty did like a Simpsons intro.
That was a couch gag.
Yeah.
Which was entertaining. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Family Guy is almost, and like ironically, both The Simpsons and Family Guy have gone down in quality apparently, like in their later years.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be untrue to say Family Guy is obvious. Like, it would be idle to deny that Family Guy is a show that took heavy cues from The Simpsons.
Oh, for sure.
And it would, as a result, I don't think it would be untrue to say, or unfair to say, that it's like The Simpsons but edgier. It has like, if like The Simpsons age range is like 12 plus, Family Guy's is like 16 plus.
I think it's certainly of like the lineage of The Simpsons in a way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I don't know, like, I mean, for a long time it was basically just The Simpsons and Family Guy that were...
And South Park.
You know, and South Park that, like, were cartoons that are for, that weren't for kids.
More
and,
mature
like, two of those
audiences.
shows... Yeah, and, like, two of those shows are, you know, relatively, like I said, you know, they take cues from one another. You know, they both feature, you know, a family in a suburban setting. You know, what differs most is like the maturity, or like I feel like maturity is the wrong word. The youngest person that can watch their humor without being scarred. And South Park is like, it's obviously like not a show for kids, but like its humor can be childish.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's the same with
like,
Family Guy. Incredibly childish humor.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
but not for children.
Yeah, but like, you know, for a long time, like those were kind of like the three big mainstays of, you know, in the adult animation space. But now we have like, I mean, those three shows I think are all still going. I haven't heard of any of them being
I'd be surprised if any of them were stopped. They're such big money makers.
And then we also have Rick and Morty, as we've been discussing. BoJack Horseman.
Yes, that's
is obviously a very popular one. I haven't watched BoJack Horseman. I keep meaning to, and then I keep hearing that, like, if you want a show that makes you cry, watch BoJack Horseman.
It will make you cry. It covers some incredibly heavy themes.
It's like, well, I don't want to watch a show that'll make me cry.
It will also make you smile and laugh as well.
Yeah, it can be a good cry at some things, and it will. I think it puts things you know into words, so, and it helps you like internalize them a bit better at some points.
Yeah, I think the show definitely is a way of the audience helping understand themselves and their own issues, I think.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've heard about it, like, it's definitely quite an existential show, which is, again, it's great. Like, that's still very different to, you know, Rick and Morty, The Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park. Like, none of them really offer an existential approach. Like, those are all comedies.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I've ever heard anyone describe BoJack Horseman as a comedy.
Oh, it definitely is a significant part.
Yeah.
A comedy. It's kind of.
I think the thing about BoJack Horseman that makes it really interesting, in my opinion, is that it is like one of these comedies. It is like an animated show, but that's almost undercut by the fact that it gets so real. So there's like this kind of divide between this is like really real existential kind of stuff, but they're walking horses and animals, like falling over and making funny jokes, you know.
So for anyone who doesn't know, most of the characters in the show are like animal people, almost furries. Not quite sure how that categorizes there, but there are also humans.
We can talk about a show that stars actual furries when we get around to discussing anime.
Yes.
We thought we ummed and ahed about discussing anime in this episode, but we thought that kind of needed a whole podcast to itself.
Yeah, I think it deserves a big topic of its own. So varied.
But yeah, I mean, like, and there's plenty of like adult animations that like I haven't watched, but like I've heard great things about, like the Boondocks. That was one. I'm trying to think.
I haven't heard of that.
It's like anime style, like black family in suburban neighborhood. It's really hard to describe. Like, I haven't watched it. I've only heard stuff about it. So like,
yeah, it's fine.
But like, it's also interesting to think about like animations that are not ostensibly not for kids, but they're still enjoyed by people of all ages.
Yeah.
Like, one that comes to mind for me would be the original Teen Titans cartoon, not Teen Titans Go, the older one. If you guys have ever seen or heard.
That was like early 2000s. Very kind of edgy stuff. I feel like if we start talking about cartoons that adults enjoy that everyone can enjoy, I feel like that list is endless. Like, you could say Adventure Time, like basically anything by Cartoon Network. you could go down like
Yeah,
an insane rabbit hole. She-Ra, Princesses of Power.
Oh yeah, She-Ra for sure. She was great.
Gravity Falls.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them.
Like, that's an endless list. We could go on forever.
Yep.
But I also
Yeah.
feel like
But this
Like,
is
there are
so
kids
many.
This is shows we wouldn't let our kids watch.
Yes, this is a podcast about shows we wouldn't let our kids
Yeah.
watch. That's right. We should be focusing on that more.
I feel like even that list though is so long. Like, there are the obvious ones like Simpsons and Family Guy and all
Yes.
that. But then there are like Daria is one show which I watched not too long ago.
Oh, Arya.
Which was a bit more niche, but I feel like it was more of a, like, you watched it if you were growing up in the 90s. Like, it was very much of the time. Very referencing things that were happening
Yeah.
in current events. And
I'd
that was
forgotten about that show.
yeah, people do forget, but it's really good. And
Daria, yeah.
like Beavis and Butthead,
Oh,
like
yeah.
these things have been around for a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, you think about like how some of those shows were like received. Like, I've heard that like when Beavis and Butthead first came onto the scene, like they were blamed for criminal activity.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
You always
like,
get
I mean-
people hating on new media.
that's like a whole other aspect of
yeah,
adult animation, is because there is such a stigma like connected to it with it being a thing for children. If you start like releasing these childlike looking shows, people are gonna like feel outraged. Like, how could you put this on TV and let my child watch this
Yeah.
disgusting
Yeah.
these two awful men?
How
Yeah.
could you make a child's show that has this in it, but it's not a child's show, but they don't get that?
But the thing is, like, adult
Yeah, I mean, like-
animation has been around since like Betty Boop in the 30s, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not a new thing. It's just it's
No.
got this stigma that's been attached to it. Maybe like from Disney or like Warner Brothers,
Perhaps.
like Bugs
maybe.
Bunny and all that.
yeah.
And it's
But Disney is like, I don't know, it's weird. I don't really know where people would have gotten the idea that animation had to be all pastel colors and like the harshest word a character is allowed to say is "oh no," like, you know,
Oh,
like,
darn.
because even like old Disney stuff, like, and even some modern Disney stuff for that matter, like, that shit is terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
the scenes that always, like, some of the scenes that always come to mind. I don't know if you guys have seen Zootopia, but
Yes.
like that, like, you literally see the fox character bite the rabbit character's neck, and it's like,
But
yes, it's
but
a
then
fake
they do the
out.
fake out, yeah. But still,
like,
yeah, that could be.
for a good solid, 30 seconds, we've believed that one protagonist is about to murder the other.
Yes.
Like, it's not exactly something I would think be wise to show, like, someone
Yeah,
who's
it could
6.
traumatize a
Like,
kid. I feel like there's a bit of weirdness in the standards there, where like some things are like, no, we can't have that, and then other things, oh no, it's fine. Even, like things that would legitimately traumatize a young kid are just completely
I feel
fine.
I feel like that Zootopia shot must be as, like, close as it comes. And, like, how many, like, Watch Mojo lists are there of, top 10 Disney deaths, like, top 10 traumatizing Disney moments, top 10 darkest Disney moments. Like, they're not, like, Disney pioneered, animation for the mainstream. And at no point have they all been pastel, completely innocent, no dark themes whatsoever. Like,
So then it becomes a question of like,
Yeah, so
what should we be showing our kids? Like, should we talk about death? Like, when is the right time? And it's a thing of censoring at that point, When does something become an adult cartoon?
I mean, it's a good point, Ben. Like, what does draw the line between, like, something that is ostensibly suitable for kids and something that is not? Where is the line between, The Black Cauldron or The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which are often noted as being some of the darkest Disney movies, which they are, and like, Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
You have to figure out where to draw, and obviously that's something that's going to be different for everybody.
And I feel like now there is there is pressure to make that clear divide. Like if you're making something that you intend to be viewed by adults, it has to almost go over the line to distinguish itself as this is an adult cartoon. It is not for children. So it includes this, that, and the other. You know?
There's also one thing. There's also been some animated movies for adults. Like one that comes to mind is I can't remember the name, but it's got food.
Sausage Party.
Sausage Party by Jeff McMullen. Yeah.
That is definitely not a kid's movie.
No, that is definitely not a kid's movie.
But the thing with Sausage Party is, I think that a lot of parents took their kids to see that film because it wasn't advertised well enough as an adult film.
Did they? Or was that just a sensational?
No, I honestly think.
Oh no, they were on Twitter. There were parents complaining that they would take their 10 or 12-year-old to see it, and then they have to leave the cinema.
It's a nasty surprise.
No, that's not amazing. That's terrible.
I mean, it's unfortunate.
Not just on the part,
yeah.
Not just on the part of the parents, but also on the part of the movie staff. Yeah.
Should have advertised it better. What was that also a fail? Who rates movies as PG or G?
ACMA, Australian Communication and Media Authority.
Yeah, it seems to me that they may have failed at their job with that particular movie. Or was that rated M?
They would have rated it correctly. Let me Google it.
But would it have been? Well, they must go at least before. What did you say it was called, Becky? The ACMA.
Yeah, ACMA.
They must I don't know how, because you always see in movies, it's something that says check the classification, but they must go before the ACMA at least for a preliminary rating before that.
The ACMA is pretty strict and consistent in their kind of rulings for what they have. It's all kind of set in legislation, so there's not really any wiggle room. So it definitely would have been rated correctly, but parents just don't look at the ratings.
Oh wow, it's rated R.
Yeah.
That also demonstrates at least a partial failing on staff of the cinema where those incidents happened, because they're definitely supposed to check for R movies that R and MA movies are actually restricted. People under 15 or 18 cannot watch them. With all the other ratings, it's we don't advise them to be watched by people under a certain age, but we can't actually stop you.
They can't stop you unless you're with a parent, I think.
I think if you're with a parental guardian, you're allowed to go into a cinema, even if it is rated R.
Yes.
No, not for MA and R movies. They are explicitly.
Really?
That's
Sure?
why they say restricted on them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, to make sure kids aren't trying to sneak in. So it also demonstrates a failing. Right. Now that we've just kind of just stopped discussing adult animation and moving on to the failings of
the rating system.
Stuff, it might be time to move on.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who, for some reason, who listened to the first podcast and actually decided to come listen to this one, last time we played a bit of a game where, what did we do again?
We had descriptions or clues to movies or TV shows, and then we had to guess them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's what we did. So we're gonna play a different game for this episode. Ben has gathered some Netflix descriptions of it. Is it of movies and TV shows, or just one or the other?
This time I've stuck with films just to keep it.
Okay, just movies.
Yep, just to keep it a bit narrower.
So Ben's compiled some Netflix movie descriptions, and Dan, Becky, and myself will have to guess them, and you can play along at home as well.
Is it first to get it right, or we're just doing it together?
I think we'll do first to get it right. I reckon. Make it a point system. We can have a winner at the end. So I've got here 11 questions. It's all kinds of movies. Never know what you're gonna get, and all of these descriptions are right from Netflix. So these are the plot synopsises of various films. And if you think you know the answer, shout it out. Maybe give a bit of time. So let's get going. And maybe, if there's a tie at the end, I'll do a little extra one. Or maybe I'll just do the extra one for fun. We'll see how we go. So, first question. A top London cop is assigned to investigate a seemingly sleepy town which suddenly starts to stir with a series of grisly accidents.
So it's Sleepy Town?
Sleepy
For
town.
some reason, the first thought that came to my mind was like a Professor Layton movie. But as far as I'm aware, no such movie exists.
There is a Professor Layton movie actually, which
This
is
isn't
it's
it.
actually not bad. But it is not Professor Layton, unfortunately.
Sleepy Town.
Top London cop.
Because that makes me think Sherlock
A
Holmes.
seemingly sleepy town.
He's not a cop.
It is not Sherlock Holmes. I'll give you a hint. This film is a comedy.
No idea.
It's not. No, you said it wasn't. So it's not like
It's not Hot Fuzz.
Oh, Becky! Ding ding ding!
Ding ding ding.
Get the point.
I was gonna
It's
guess
Hot
that.
Fuzz.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of the Mall Cop one.
Paul Blart.
Yeah.
Oh, what a man.
Damn. We'll have to do this for Disney Plus as well, then I'll get them all right.
Disney Plus, I actually had a look. I think the descriptions are a lot more in detail.
Yeah.
I think they're
damn.
very... Yeah. Next question. A reporter battles a mad scientist in a fight for his life after merging with a snarky alien that gives him remarkable superpowers.
Venom?
Yes! Becky!
Oh my god, I'm
Hey.
destroying this. And I thought I'd be
Becky's
the
on
worst.
the ball. It's 2 points for Becky.
Okay.
Will anyone knock her off her throne?
Oh.
Next question.
We'll wait a bit longer before we guess, Becky. Like we don't want to give people at home a chance
Okay,
to
I'll
guess
give
as
you a
well.
chance.
Jesus.
We do have plenty of questions. May not even be able to get through them all, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Next question. This one may be a bit trickier.
Oh.
U.S. Marshal's troubling visions compromise his investigation into the disappearance of a patient from a hospital for the criminally insane.
Oh.
Well, it's not the Joker.
It's
No.
not the Joker. So the
Um,
protagonist of this film is the U.S. Marshal. And I'll give you a hint because this one may be a bit more niche. This film takes place on an island.
Oh, what?
Island may also be in the title of
The
film.
island?
It is not the island.
Oh, I
And
feel
if
like I
none
know
of you
what...
can get it.
John Kimball. Yeah, that one. Oh, I don't know what
I'll
it's
give you
called.
one more hint. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, I don't know it.
I have no idea.
Or maybe it's a bit too niche, but the
Sequel to
film
Titanic.
was
I don't know.
not quite. Good guess, but not quite.
Mm.
The film was Shutter Island.
I
It's
haven't
a
seen it.
mystery thriller. It's very
seen it.
good. And when in my film course, it came up as one of the most popular films that anyone had watched. So I
Oh,
assumed that it would be a more popular pick, but
probably popular among
You
film
were wrong.
students.
maybe you got it listening at home. Alright, we'll move on. Oh, this is a good one. Just when this character thought he could finally relax and enjoy his happily ever after with his new family, the most joyous of all holidays arrives.
It's not.
There are a
It's a
few
Christmas
key
movie.
words.
It's not Deadpool 2, is it?
Not Deadpool 2.
It's a Christmas movie.
This one is a bit of a sneaky pick. Think about some of the words. I'll read it again.
Okay.
Just when this character thought he could finally relax and enjoy his happily ever after with his new family, the most joyous of all holidays arrives.
Is it actually Happily Ever After? No.
It's not happily ever after. Think about a film that includes the phrase happily ever after.
Oh,
heavily in
okay.
the
I'll just
plot.
think of every Disney movie ever.
Shrek?
What was that, Becky?
It's not Shrek, is it?
It's very similar to Shrek.
Shrek 2.
Shrek 2? Shrek 3?
No.
Shrek the Halls!
Yes!
Oh my god.
Ah.
What a sham. Oh, I'm so glad you guessed it. Shrek
my
the Halls,
God.
the amazing Christmas special that everyone
I can't
knows and loves.
believe you picked that.
Oh, good times. Let's move on. Next question. In this Jim Henson fantasy, teen Sarah embarks on a life-altering quest to rescue her little brother from the clutches of a treacherous goblin. Does anybody know who Jim Henson is?
I do know
He
who
was the
Jim,
Muppets.
Jim
but-
Henson, yeah. Muppets puppeteer. Created them. I don't know this though.
Ooh, I'll give you a hint. It's from the 80s. And it very much feels like it's from the 80s.
Doesn't help.
Is it a Muppets movie?
It's not a Muppets movie.
I don't think so.
So it was
But there
produced by
are
Jim
puppets.
Henson. It isn't a Muppets movie.
I'll give you one more hint. This may give it away. It stars David Bowie.
Labyrinth?
It is The Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Becky, good job.
I like thought of Labyrinth. I thought no. I didn't know that was made by Jim Henson. What?
No, neither did I.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
haven't
actually.
seen it.
That's what it says in the in the Netflix synopsis.
David Bowie.
I want to
R.I.P.
double check just to make sure.
Oh,
Just a quick little R.I.P. on
he's
David Bowie.
crushing it.
Oh my goodness, what a loss!
Yeah.
What a tragedy that was. We'll move on now. This one may be a bit easier, so we'll see. A prince infected with a lethal curse sets off to find a cure and lands in the middle of a battle between a mining town and the animals' forest.
Right, I definitely know this one without a shadow of a doubt.
I think I do too.
Go ahead, Oscar. Oh, do you want to say it at the same time? I'll give you both a point.
Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
The Emperor's New Groove?
Princess Mononoke.
No?
Oh, Becky, I thought you would have had it.
Yeah.
It is Princess Mononoke.
I have no idea.
Mononoke.
I have not seen any Miyazaki. I really need to.
Ooh,
Oh,
I would
it's
recommend.
should be a
Very
fucking
much
offense.
missing out.
I've heard.
So I think that makes it 3 points to Becky, 2 points to Oscar, and Dan bringing up the rear.
Oh.
I
to no
haven't heard
points.
any of these.
Oh no.
Oh dear. Maybe you'll catch up. Maybe it'll be a come from behind victory.
Oh.
We'll see. There are how many questions do I have left? 5 questions left. Plenty of time to win. Alright. The fashion world is turned upside down when this empty-headed male model discovers that a fashion mogul is behind an assassination plot. I'll be very disappointed if no one can get this.
I don't know this.
I haven't a clue.
Oh dear.
This sounds like a comedy movie.
It is a comedy movie.
Yeah. It sounds like a romp.
I'm pretty sure I know this movie, but I don't know the name of it.
The title.
Yeah.
It stars Ben Stiller.
Okay, yeah, I definitely know. I know the movie. I don't know the name of it.
I'd be surprised if nobody knew the movie. I'll see if I can prompt you to the title. Where might you go to see animals?
Zoo?
Zoo?
Mm.
That doesn't help at all.
Petting zoo?
Zoolander?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with a zoo, but zoo is in the title.
Zoolander, like Oscar.
It is Zoolander. Oh, did Oscar say that?
Oscar said it. Damn
You
it.
get the point.
Oh.
I was for a moment. I just got a call, but I had to decline it. So hang on, let me just text them back and tell them I'll call them.
Sure.
I actually haven't seen Zoolander. I was thinking of another fashion movie.
Another fashion movie? I thought
there's another
Zoolander
one.
was the only one.
No, there's like this weird boot camp that they have to go through, and there's this FBI agent, and she has to go undercover, and she's a cop, or an FBI agent, so she doesn't like dressing up and doing all of this stuff.
Oh, I see.
I think Dan gets half a point for that because I wouldn't have gotten there without like him actually being as close as he was. Like,
all right, I'm
Do we
feeling
give half
generous. I'll
points?
give
I didn't
Dan
get-
half a point.
I didn't get it until
don't have
like
points.
Ben gave the clue, like the zoo clue.
It was a pretty telling clue. So that
Miss
puts.
Congeniality
Yeah, go ahead.
is the other one I was thinking of.
Oh,
I've heard of that.
I've heard of Miss Congeniality, but I've not watched it. I'll
Ah.
have to add it to my list. If it's anything like Zoolander, then count me in.
I doubt it would be, but I know the connection.
Alright, we'll move on.
Yeah.
3 students decide to go into the Maryland backwoods to document the mystery behind a certain
Blair
urban
Witch.
legend.
Come on.
Becky, you didn't even let me finish, but you got it.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I don't know. It's obvious to me.
I knew right away that was what that was.
And here I was
Whoops.
thinking that Dan was the only horror fan
You're-
here.
Oh, I'm not a fan of
Everybody knows
horror.
Blair Witch, Ben. Like,
Sorry.
Oh dear.
Try not to interrupt you.
So that makes Becky
I'm competitive.
in the lead.
They're like 5.
Yes. That makes Becky at 4, I think.
How am I the one who's winning
Oscar,
this
no,
I'm
yes.
on a movie
Becky
bar.
at 4, Oscar at 4, and at 1 half a point.
Hell yeah.
I meant to
We all believe
split
in
my
you, Dan.
point with Dan. I meant like we both get half a point. That's what I meant.
Okay,
before.
okay, well, if you're willing to give up a half
Yes,
point,
God,
I'm
like I
happy
said, I
to.
wouldn't have gotten there without him.
I'll redact that half point.
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah,
the
I'm on
lead.
3.5.
Alright. This is our third from last question. Entrusted with a task to restore public faith in superheroes, this character sets off on a mission to catch a supervillain while her husband faces the challenges of stay-at-home parenting.
Wait,
It's The Incredibles.
it can't be Incredibles 2 because
Dan!
it's not on Netflix.
Oh! You were so close. You said The Incredibles, but Oscar, I think, said Incredibles 2
But-
first.
Is that still on Netflix? I thought all the Disney stuff was off Netflix.
So the thing is, you can still find the Netflix descriptions for a lot of
Oh,
Oh, Ben.
that's sneaky.
things. I pulled a little sneaky on you.
No, pull the blindfold over.
You,
her
no,
eyes.
you didn't pull a sneaky. You just outright broke the rules of the game by picking something that isn't on Netflix.
Hey, I said that they're all Netflix descriptions. I
Yeah.
never said that they were still
Oh,
on
the
Netflix.
technicality police.
Mmm. Oh, Dan, I wish I could give you the point. I
He
really
gets hard.
do.
No, he gets the point because he said Incredibles when it was
Oh.
obviously Incredibles and it wasn't even something on Netflix.
Yeah.
1 point to Dan.
I knew it was Incredibles 2, but I couldn't think of the name.
All right. Well, if Oscar is happy to, I'll go
No,
with
that's
that point.
Dan's point because when if
Alrighty.
Ben was taking points, that'd be minus 1 point for Ben. But like for breaking
Wow.
the rules. But like
I am God here. I decide
Yeah.
who gets points and who does not get points. But I will happily give Dan the point. That puts Dan at 1 half a
Need
point.
some points.
1.5 points, rather.
Yes.
All right. Second last question. During a midlife crisis, 30-something Mike wishes for a do-over, and that's exactly what he gets when he wakes up to find that he's become a teen.
Is
Oh,
this the one with
I
Zac Efron that I can't remember?
does it
the
have Zac
name of?
Efron in it?
Oh, I know.
It may...
I have no idea what
17.
20.
again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
There's also 21 again or something like that.
Is there really? Is it?
I think so,
is it
yeah.
in the same franchise.
There are a lot of movies actually like that. There is. I can think of. I can't think of the names of them all, but I'm pretty sure in my mind there exist several movies that involve an adult seeing, like waking up again as a teenager, sort of.
Yeah, there's like Freaky Friday,
And the
17
opposite.
Again. I'm sure there's got to be plenty.
21 again. In the 4-part miniseries, a group of 5 mums in their 30s and 40s are given a makeover so that they can re-enter their 20s.
Oh, that sounds really good.
I want to watch that.
Sounds
Oh
like
god.
I don't.
ugh.
Okay, that's another point for Oscar.
Hmm?
That puts Oscar at 5.5. Is that right? 3.5? 4.5?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Keeping track of this,
5.5.
You have to keep track of this.
So, just to show how apt Ben is at planning this game, he picked a movie that isn't on Netflix, and
Oh,
he
no.
can't keep track of the points.
Hey, listen.
Hey, give him a
I
break.
did my best.
Give him a break.
Alrighty, we'll move on. Last question. I'm making this one worth 2 points because I'm
Ooh.
feeling generous, and it's a tricky one.
Ooh,
But we'll see how we go.
I'm up for the challenge.
This hapless character takes a vacation on the French Riviera where he becomes ensnared in an accidental kidnapping and a case of mistaken identity.
Oh wow, that's vague.
If anyone at home gets this, I'll be very impressed. But I included this one because the the description is very misleading, and
What?
you wouldn't think
wait, hang
of
on.
this film by listening to this description.
It's not Ratatouille, is it?
It's not Ratatouille.
And this movie is actually on Netflix, on Australian Netflix at this
This is.
moment.
Oh,
It absolutely is.
okay. No.
And Becky,
tricks
you were kind of on the right path. with
Ratatouille.
Like it's a similar vibe. I'll give you that.
Wild Thornberrys movie?
It's not the Wild Thornberries. I will say it's not animated.
Okay.
Is it what's it called? The Garfield movie?
It's not the Garfield movie.
Oh yeah, that's England, isn't it?
Didn't Garfield get a sequel where he became the prince or something?
Oh,
He
I
moved
don't-
into
I
the
don't-
royal
both those
palace.
movies are
Yeah,
awful.
something like that.
Oh, I wish I put down the Garfield movie, but
It would be
it
great.
unfortunately is not. Again, not really far off. I'll start giving some hints.
Okay.
This character, prior to the film, had his own TV series, which made him famous.
I feel like my brain's almost there on what this is.
It's not animated? Because like, I always
It's
think of
not
like,
animated.
Oh, it's not animated, yeah.
they have like an animated character in it, like the Garfield movie, like as one of the main characters, like
I'll say
animated in that
this.
sense.
This character has also gotten an animated television series. And another
Does
film.
it come after the movie?
I'm not sure. I think the movie may have come after the animated TV series.
It's not
I'll give you
Scooby Doo.
one more
is it?
hint.
Oh,
It
they
isn't
got it different.
Scooby Doo, but these answers are like all kind of in the realm of
Yeah.
what this
No,
thing is. Really focusing on the hapless part. This is a hapless character.
There are loads of
Mr. Bean?
hapless characters in fiction.
It is
Oh,
Mr. Bean!
hell yeah!
Oh,
Becky! Final question worth 2 points,
Wow.
which puts you up to 6,
Wow.
meaning Becky is our winner of the
Hooray!
game. Congratulations.
Did not expect that. Gonna be honest.
which Mr. There are several Mr. Bean movies.
This
out there,
one,
like-
I would have accepted Mr. Bean in any forms, honestly. It was Mr. Bean's Holiday.
Yeah,
The other
nobody
Mr.
gets
Bean
that.
film is Mr. Bean. Oh, geez, I've forgotten the other Mr. Bean movie. It might just be
Well,
called
it's
the
some-
Mr. Bean movie.
I think it might be.
Maybe.
Oh,
Good old,
No, the lovable Mr. Bean.
good old Rowan
Played by
Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a gorgeous man. Congratulations, Becky.
Thank you.
That was I feel like that went pretty okay. We may have run a bit long, but
Congratulations, Becky. You win Ben's admiration and Dan's resentment.
The most valuable prize.
I'll admire you for the rest of my life.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Thank you very much.
So, on that note, it's now time for us to give our poorly informed, poorly thought out, stuff you've probably already heard of anyway, pop culture recommendations. I only have one this week because I spouted off basically everything I'm currently watching or playing last week. And that game, and this one's a game. It is the latest Ace Attorney game, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Yes, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, available now on the Switch, PlayStation 4, and Steam. It is the localized version of a Ace Attorney game that was released in Japan quite some years ago, and is set. It's an Ace Attorney game set in early 19th century Britain, actually. Britain and Japan. It goes to both. And features the great detective Herlock Sholmes.
Classic.
So if you're, the kind of person, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily perhaps as an entry to the Ace Attorney games. I haven't played all of it yet. But if you do already know you like the Ace Attorney games or that style of game, I would certainly recommend given what I've played of it thus far. We haven't seen a new Ace Attorney game in quite some time, at least not here in the West. And this one's, I think the first one that's actually released on a home console as well. And it looks quite nice as well.
I imagine it's really nice.
Yeah, we had the original trilogy. Well,
there were re-released ones on the Wii. The original trilogy was re-released on the Wii.
And it was also re-released on the Switch. But this is, at least from the West, this is the first new, terms and conditions apply,
Ace Attorney game. Yeah. But never mind that. I would definitely recommend it because, it's an Ace Attorney game and we have not seen a mainline Ace Attorney game in a while. So I would definitely recommend it if you like the Ace Attorney games. All right. What have you guys got?
I've got a TV show and then a Netflix film. So my first one is The Good Place, which is very entertaining. It makes you think, and it's drama combined with a bit of philosophy. It's won quite a few awards. And it's just a good one. I think the second season isn't actually that good, but it's worth getting through it for the third one. But you need to pay a little bit of attention to that one. And my second, or the film that I'm suggesting is Watchmen. It's a screen adaptation of the graphic novel that was released in 1986. It sticks to the comic mostly, has an interesting plot, it's great action, it's a DC movie. The only downside is this requires a lot of attention as well. It's almost 3 hours, but still worth it. Yeah.
Dan, I'm gonna swoop in and straight up dunk on your recommendation because The Watchmen is one of my least favorite movies.
Oh no.
So
what's your reasoning for that?
It's too long. That doesn't have any discernible storyline. I get that it may be trying to follow the comics, which is fine, but it needs to be adapted to an extent to fit the medium of film, and it doesn't effectively do that, I don't think. I didn't care about any of the characters. They made a lot of decisions that I personally think are a bit silly. I won't give any spoilers, but if anyone does want to watch it, this is just my opinion. A lot of people do love The Watchmen, but
I read the comic and it sticks to it, which is what I like the most.
Yeah, it really felt like it stuck to the comic very faithfully. Like, even though I hadn't read it, like, you could kind of tell. because of how much they jumped around, and
Yeah.
I feel like personally it didn't stick the landing as a film. Maybe as a comic it was better, but
Yeah,
not
that's
for me.
fair.
Sorry to give an anti-recommendation to just come in and
Well,
dunk
what do
on
you
me, Dan,
actually
today.
recommend, Ben, that doesn't involve you dunking on Dan?
Well, I hadn't really thought about this. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be on this episode, so I'll just give I'll find a movie that I think was neat. I'm going to go ahead and recommend The Witch. It's a spooky movie starring that one person who was in Queen's Gambit, whose name escapes me. But it's very good. It's spooky. It's it's very much based on urban folklore of the American settlers, like with the Salem witch hunts. And what's actually really interesting about the film is that they kind of take accounts directly from historical writings and they adapt that into a film. And it's not like a lot of other horror movies that are kind of, here's a jump scare, like, ooh, when's the thing gonna pop out? It's really atmospheric, and the soundtrack is insanely good. And it's just got such a nice payoff at the end. And a lot of people actually dislike this film because they say it's not scary enough, but honestly, I just think it's so good, and it doesn't need to be constantly freaking you out, but it's just such a nice horror movie. It's a nice departure from the genre.
A while back, the club did it wasn't even an official event. We did a collaboration with another club, and I think around 20 to 30 people all just sat in Discord and watched The Witch. And
God.
We loved it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I could just gush for so long, but
you're using unexpectedly wholesome language to discuss a horror film. So,
well, I feel like you've got to have an objective sort of. You need to talk about it the same way you talk about other movies. I feel like a lot of people are put off from horror movies because they immediately think of gore and lowbrow sort of cheap scares, go in just to be freaked out, but they deserve the same amount of respect as any other film.
Very true.
Becky,
Yes. So I have two recommendations: a show and a game. So the first recommendation is a show on Netflix called 3%. It's the first Portuguese language show on Netflix, and it's kind of like a sci-fi dystopian drama-y thriller-y kind of show. It's really good. I really enjoy the kind of story and the characters. There's a lot of conflict between differing motivations between characters, and kind of conflict within the characters where they come in with one motivation and then they kind of confronted and don't know what to do. It's very good. I haven't caught up. I've watched 2 seasons, but hey, so I would definitely recommend that. Very cool. And my second recommendation is a game I've been playing a lot lately called The Outer Worlds.
Ooh.
It's a
yes.
sci-fi FPS RPG in the vein of Fallout, and it was actually created by Obsidian Entertainment, who were the ones who created Fallout New Vegas, which is considered by some to be the best Fallout game, or at least the best of the 3D Fallout games. And I really like the story, the characters, the gameplay. I love the world. I love the art style. It's beautiful. I love it. Adore that game.
If it's anything like Fallout New Vegas, then count me in.
Gameplay-wise, it is
such a good time.
New Vegas.
What's that game available on, Becky?
Glad you asked. It's available on Windows, PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and xCloud.
Lots of options.
I feel like not enough games. Part of the reason I play so many Nintendo games is that I feel know what to do with a game actually having an art style. I feel like there are far too many games.
Yeah.
It's gotten a bit better, actually, to be fair, in the last few years, I feel. But like, I feel like there are a lot of games out there that just don't have an art style.
It's just
and
generic, realistic, modern,
for,
something like that.
Which you can never make, I think, a realistic looking game that looks as aesthetically pleasing as something that's more cartoonified.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, like, yeah, I think I just infinitely prefer when
they stand up more in retrospect when they're more cartoonish and not trying to go realistic.
I mean,
tech
you think of
changes will always make it look ugly in retrospect.
Absolutely. Like, you think of, like, the Wind Waker.
Oh, yeah, Wind Waker's beautiful.
That was released in 2003.
Okay, so,
still looks excellent.
What was it? Super Mario World for the SNES? That's a great looking game, and it's, like, that old. Mm-hmm. It's, like, it's great.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Right. I think that might conclude this episode of the Swinburne Pop Culture Club podcast, which I suppose could be abbreviated to the SPCPC.
Yes, SPCPC.
Almost.
Oh, wait, SPCCPC.
SPCCPC. Okay, got it. Now remember, everyone. Just remember, SPCCPC.
It's not confusing at all.
No, not at all. I hope you all somehow enjoyed listening to us ramble for over an hour at this point.
How could they not?
Tune into the next podcast, which will probably be released in 2 weeks from whenever this one is released. Hopefully, we're hoping for next. We still recorded this podcast online, but we're hoping for our next one that we might be able to record in person.
Hopefully.
Which will hopefully lead to better audio quality and better conversation flow.
Yeah.
But it'd take a lot to save us, so we'll just have to see how we go.
We'll see.
So thank you for listening. And we look forward to the next podcast.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.